When I look back now, I realize that sometimes life doesn't need you to plan your revenge. Karma just needs you to stay quiet long enough for it to unfold beautifully. I was married to Ethan for nearly 10 years. To the world, we looked like a perfect couple. He was charming, ambitious, and confident, the kind of man who could make a whole room turn their heads. I was the quiet one, the woman behind his success. I managed his schedules, encouraged his dreams, and put mine aside because I thought love meant sacrifice. Ethan used to say, "One day I'll make sure you never have to work again." But as time passed, I realized he didn't mean that as a promise. He meant it as a warning. I had a best friend, Laura. We'd known each other since college, the kind of friend you'd trust with your secrets, your home, your husband. She was bold, lively, and always chasing attention. I never thought she would be capable of betrayal. But that's the thing about betrayal. It doesn't come from your enemies. It started with little things. Late-night calls for advice, inside jokes between Ethan and Laura that I wasn't part of, and messages that vanished too quickly. My intuition whispered that something wasn't right, but I kept silencing it with excuses until the day everything shattered. It was our 10th wedding anniversary. I had planned a surprise dinner. Candles, music, everything he loved. But Ethan didn't show up. Hours passed. I called, texted, begged him to at least tell me if he was okay. He didn't answer. At midnight, I drove to Laura's house, the place I had visited countless times before. Her car was there. His car was there too. My hands shook as I walked to the window. And there they were. Laughing, drinking wine, dancing like I had never existed. I didn't knock. I didn't scream. I just stood there and watched the two people I loved most celebrate the destruction of my world. The next morning, Ethan came home, not with guilt, but with arrogance. He said, "You deserve better than me. Emily, I think we should both move on." Move on. Just like that, 10 years of my life turned into a sentence of convenience. He left me with nothing but a small apartment, unpaid bills, and a shattered soul. Laura didn't even have the decency to speak to me. She just posted a picture a few months later with the caption, "New beginnings." I cried until my eyes couldn't anymore. But when the tears stopped, something inside me changed. I realized that my pain was fuel. I got a job at a local firm as an assistant, starting from the bottom. I was rusty, scared, and completely out of confidence. But every time I wanted to quit, I remembered that night, their laughter echoing in my head like a battle cry. Years passed. I worked harder than I ever thought possible. I took night classes, earned certifications, learned how to lead. Every promotion felt like another piece of myself returning. Eventually, I got hired at a major corporate firm, a company known for swallowing smaller businesses. I climbed faster than anyone expected. My bosses saw my resilience, my discipline, my precision. Within 5 years, I was running an entire division. Then one day, a new partnership was being discussed in our executive meeting. The company we were acquiring was a medium-sized marketing firm, one that had been struggling for years. Its CEO, Ethan Miller. When I saw his name on the file, I laughed, not out of joy, but disbelief. Life had brought the circle back to me, wrapped in poetic irony. I didn't say a word in the meeting. I just approved the acquisition and requested that I personally handle the integration of his team. 2 weeks later, Ethan walked into my office. He looked older, more tired. his confidence worn out. Behind him stood Laura, her once vibrant face now shadowed with disappointment. "Emily," he said, his voice trembling. "You work here?" I smiled politely. "Actually, Ethan, I don't just work here. I'm your new division head." The silence that followed was priceless. Laura tried to fake a smile. "Wow, small world," she muttered. "Oh, it's smaller than you think," I replied. "You'll both be reporting to me for the transition period." From that moment on, I didn't need revenge. I just needed grace. Watching them squirm under my leadership was enough. Ethan, once the confident charmer, now stammered his way through presentations. Laura couldn't even meet my eyes. One evening after a long meeting, Ethan came to my office. He looked exhausted. "Emily," he said quietly, "I made a mistake. Leaving you is the worst thing I've ever done." I leaned back, calm, collected. "You didn't just leave me, Ethan. You erased me. But I rebuilt myself, and now you work for me. So tell me, how does it feel to answer to the woman you thought was beneath you?" He had no words, just silence. The next day I approved his resignation, but with a smile. Months later, their firm dissolved completely. I heard Laura left him. The same pattern repeated. Betrayal eating betrayal. And me. I finally started my own company, a women-led consultancy helping others rebuild after loss, betrayal, or divorce. My story became my power. Sometimes karma doesn't shout. It whispers. It lets you rise quietly, until the day you stand tall enough for your enemies to see what they threw away. I didn't need revenge. I just needed to become everything they said I couldn't, and when I looked at myself in the mirror, I realized I was never broken. I was just being remade. If this story touched your heart, remember, silence is not weakness. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming someone they can never reach again. Tell us in the comments, have you ever faced betrayal and found your strength again? Subscribe to Echoes from Her for more powerful stories that heal, inspire, and remind you of your worth.